It to the cloud. For the previous recordings, we'll pull them up. We'll most probably post them on our PrimeVerse. We'll create a separate library for webinar recordings. They're not there yet, but hopefully we'll be able to place the recordings for you guys online very soon. Okay. So recordings are not available yet. Now, once again, in terms of what's happening right now and what we're expecting, I'd love for the price to come back into this area. Okay. So what we've done here, we've tapped into the daily open just now. So again, manipulation to the upside, move down. I would expect some sort of continuation to the downside, but I would love to see some tap into the daily open once again. Okay. Okay, some questions. John is asking, how do I find the daily open? So let's come back to the analysis. Okay, for the first timers and for people who are asking, I think it's going to be important to just do a bit of a recap in terms of what we use for analysis, what is the thought process, and so on. Okay, so again, what I'm looking for now is a short opportunity. Let's check if Zonar is aligning. Zonar is giving us a bit of a different signal, as you guys can see. It is giving us an entry right here with take profit one, take profit two. But take profit one and take profit two are pretty close to where I would love to enter myself, right? So potentially a good trade. All it's saying is essentially don't enter a short right now. Okay. Maybe somewhere around here would be even a better entry. But we'll let it slide for now. I'm not going to rush into a short trade. Quick analysis, quick thought process for the people who are joining for the first time. We do a top-down analysis on the chart. This chart has been fresh when we started our training sessions. That was around 2 or 3 weeks ago, and we have filled it as we went, right? So number one, couple of things that you guys need to know. We start always on the weekly time frame. I don't necessarily use monthly myself too much. I only use October monthly open. I did use it to mark it up, but weekly level, you can use a magnet, right? And you can use a horizontal line or horizontal ray. I prefer a ray, right? So what you would do is essentially use a magnet and then pull your line to the weekly open, right? So what you guys can see is this week, Monday open, right? Or Sunday to be specific, is the second daily open for this week. I've marked up where the weekly candle has opened up, right? All you have to do is just pretty much use this magnet, move it towards the candle, it will automatically pull towards the weekly open. That's number one. After the weekly open, you guys will mark up the daily as well. So you will notice I have this week's open, previous week bullish open, and the week before that as well. Notice how the wick almost reached the previous weekly open. It is there for a reason, right? Just to make sure we know our levels and our levels are not random. Okay. Then we move on to the daily and we mark up the daily levels as well. Previous day is a weekly open, so I don't need another one. But I did mark up in before the session started the daily open for today. Okay, so we have a daily open as well. Keep that in mind. So daily open is there. You guys can mark up previous daily opens at two. So I have the previous daily open from here. This is the bullish daily open from our double bottom, the demand zone that we've had. And then we have some daily opens from there as well. So kind of a nice range, which we're playing within, right? So once again, for daily open, same story. Just create a horizontal ray and move it towards a candle. It will automatically pull a magnet to it. Okay. So we marked up those, right? And I have some other levels like daily bearish level from the previous sessions that we had, previous weekly, as you guys can see. And I do have some 4-hour levels as well. So previous 4-hour bearish candle is marked up right here. Again, this candle has tapped the weekly open. So we have a reasonable amount of levels to play from and play around. Again, some of these zones that we highlighted in gray and red colors are there from our previous sessions. So what we can do, considering we're pretty close to it, we could extend it just to see that if we go bearish, we could reach some of these zones here. Okay. I'm not going to extend this one because we're pretty far away from it at this stage, but this one would be of relevance as of right now, right? Hopefully that is clear. That is how we use the daily levels and the weekly levels and so on and so forth. Now, once you mark up your charts, we use a set of rules that we trade with, and we use our risk management rule on top of that. Make sure you follow something similar. It doesn't have to be exactly the same, but I highly recommend for everybody to make sure you guys follow some guidelines when you're trading. Okay, so we use rule of three confirmations, and we also use our risk management rule. For risk management, just to clarify for everybody, we started this account not so long ago. It's a $25,000 account we've deposited, and then we have gotten it to 31,000, so $6,000 in profits as of right now. This is all during the live trading sessions that we've had. I did have one trade off the live trading session. It added a nice, where was it? I did a nice long on gold, half a lot, just recently when the gold dropped. Show you guys, it was off session. It doesn't have the trade history, but it was previous. It was a previous day buy here, right here. So I did a gold buy off of the previous days, ran it for a nice 400 pips or so, and then closed it, right? So this additional 2,000 that we added was off of a trading session, and I did not trade after that up until now. Okay, so keep that in mind. We'll enter some trades once again, as I mentioned. I'm just waiting for the price action to develop. Bear with me a second. Okay, so in terms of the rules, what are we looking at and what are we trading based off? Okay, three confirmations is what we're looking for. Number one, we're looking at general market trend. Once again, quick clarification as to what general market trend is for us here. A series of price action, which would highlight where the market is trending, right? So if we're just looking at the recent couple of days, say last Friday or so, we've had a series of lower highs and lower lows in the market after we've established this high. We met with you guys here, and I did mention that we will reach the fair value gap and then move lower, which we did, which is amazing. Again, analysis has been followed through pretty nicely. But let me guys show you the logical process here, logical thinking. So we had a series of move to the downside, lower high, lower low, lower high. And then we've had another lower low. Okay. That is what we created right here. So once again, market structure is pretty bearish, right? All you guys have to do is just mark up the high, right? And the low, and then take it from there, right? You have your low, and then you have your lower high, and then another lower low, right? So once again, we are looking at the higher time frames in terms of the analysis and in terms of the market structure. If anything changes on smaller time frames, we will definitely adjust our analysis accordingly. But as of right now, since last Thursday or so, market has been bearish, clearly, and we're taking opportunities based on that. Okay, so lower highs, lower highs, lower lows, right? That is what we're basing everything off. Of course, within the structure, we have more price action to look into, but this is just one of the main points in terms of price action. Again, high and low and lower high, right? Why did we reach where we did? You can pull up a very easy quick fib, right? And you will see that we reached 61%. That would align with the previous levels as well, right here. Right? As you guys can see, why did we reach the high that we did, right? This is the previous low. This is the previous low liquidity grab, and we reached exactly there, right? So the zone of supply became the zone of demand. The price action has flipped, and now this is going to be still an important and relevant level for our trading, right? Keep that in mind. So market trend we established. Again, we've created a lower high on a smaller time frame, right? So we have a high on smaller time frame. Once again, we have a low. Trying to make it simple for beginners, especially, right? Not to overcrowd the chart, not to make it too complicated. And then we have a lower high, LH, lower high right here. Okay. Now, we did not create a lower low just yet, right? So it depends how you consider it. It could be a higher low, but you could just put a small triangle. It's a retail trend line, right? Not necessarily going to hold one way or the other. It will break in a certain direction, right? So we got to keep that in mind, right? This is a retail trend line. We don't necessarily use that. My point of view is that it will be broken one way or the other, but you can mark it up just to see the series of lower highs and lower lows. So unless price breaks to the upside here and recovers down, we're not looking for buys just yet. Okay. Even though would love to buy gold, definitely it is trading pretty low in general. Just gotta keep in that unless area. I'm not looking for any buys just yet, as I mentioned. Okay. If we break this high, no problem. We'll change our bias. We'll be looking for buys. But for now, no. So number one, market structure. Hopefully that is pretty clear. And for any trades that we do today on a $25,000 balance, I'm following strict risk management. So what that means is I'm risking 1 to 2% per trade. I'm risking between $250 to $500 on my account, even though I'm nicely in profit by 6,000, but I'm still risking the same amount of money for every trade. I could take higher risk trades, of course, taking into consideration the profit that was made, but I'm not looking to because the capital preservation aspect is number one and is the most important part. Okay, so keep that in mind. Let me know if you guys have any questions because we've covered quite a lot, right? From market structure all the way to risk management. I will mention a couple other points shortly, but please let me know if everything is clear. If you guys are liking it, type some W's in the chat. If the analysis is clear, we'll hopefully be looking to enter a trade very soon. But if any questions, please take your time to ask so. Okay. While we're doing that, price has reached an interesting area for me here personally. Even though I'm not very much convinced that we will go down from here, it's a nice retest of the area. So I will enter a small trade, a very small position size, taking into consideration that I could add to this entry higher, but we've reached the same high. So I will enter first part of my trade, roughly half a lot. So right there. Okay, so my stop loss for this trade is going to be just above the zone here. Okay, this order block right there and above 78%. It is going to be a pretty wide stop loss, but I'm comfortable taking that. So stop loss is going to be 4,050-ish. Bear with me. I'll move the take profit lower and we'll move the stop loss all the way here. So around $400 stop loss and then around $800 potential take profit. Again, this is just the first portion of the trade. I might be able to add to this trade later on, but again, for anybody who's missed, I've just entered a short for half a lot on gold. And when the price tapped the equal highs right there, again, we tapped the daily open, right? We came back. I can even pull a fib on that and that will give me a confirmation that it is a pretty nice, decent entry into the retest of the zone. As you guys can see here, 78, 71, 61%. Okay. So again, a pretty risky trade. But again, it's first entry. If the price goes higher, I'll be happy to re-enter. Again, take profit targets could be pretty conservative. So TP1 would be around 40.31 right here. And then TP2 would be around here. Okay. A very ambitious TP3 would be all the way here, but I'm not sure if we will get that during the Tokyo session between 8 to 9 p.m. So we got to be reasonable when we're taking our profits as well, right? Keep that in mind, guys. Okay, so far so good. Hopefully things are clear. Once again, daily open tap. Unless we break through that daily open with a strong, strong, strong move, I'm not necessarily looking to buy anything, even though we have a bit of a formation right here where price has been supported, right? So if we pull a retail trend line right here, we broke that trend line, right? Lower high, lower low. We broke that and we had a bit of a change of character. So got to keep that in mind that overall on a very, very small time frame, like 1 minute, we've had a change of character and it could be considered like a cup, right? Price could potentially go higher, but again, I'm not necessarily looking for a buy as of right now. I'm not convinced, right? I would be looking for buys lower here, yes, but not at the price where we're at right now, okay? So keep that in mind, guys. If you're entering a trade similar to what I am, keep in mind that we do not provide any financial advice, right? This is for educational purpose. What we're trying to do is make sure that you guys learn the logical thinking, the process of idea behind your trade. It's not a blind entry. I want to buy, I want to sell. It looks like it's going up. It looks like it's going down. Before we did that, before we entered a sell here, we created a certain amount of confirmations for ourselves as to why we would be looking for a sell, right? And again, as I mentioned, I've entered only half a size and I would be looking to add to my entry later on if it goes against my direction, right? So keep that in mind. I'd love for the price to go all the way down, but we'll see if that's going to happen. Somebody's asking if the stop loss is 400, 40.50 and take profit 40.30. Take profit one is roughly 40.31. take profit 2, 40.28, and take profit 3 all the way at 40.20, right? So as take profit moves, right, your risk reward gets better. Keep that in mind, right? The full risk reward here is around 2.5, right? If it reaches all the way to the previous lows, it's 3.5, almost 4, right? Ashley is asking, what's my entry? Let's show Ashley the entry. It's at around 40, 41.5, right? The price is hovering around that area. I don't want to say we're nicely in profit just yet. I don't think so. Yeah, it is in profit, like $60, but it's not much, right? We're risking 400 here. So not where I'd like for the price to be yet. And again, we didn't necessarily get any strong reaction off of this level. So it is possible price will break above, right? I'm okay to be wrong. It's okay to be wrong from the right level, right? If you're wrong from the right zone, that's fine. If you're wrong just because you're over trading and just because you're randomly entering the trades, that's a problem, right? But if you're wrong from the right place, it's okay to be wrong from the right place. As you guys can see, these are the highs. This is the daily open, right? So there are some confluences for me to entering shorts here, right? But once again, this first entry of two, if both ideas go wrong, that's okay. Now, a couple more things that I will add for the first comers and people who are just joining the trading session, especially for the first time. There are multiple things that I use in my trading, not just market structure, right? So I trade based on price action. Yes, I like the smart money concepts, and we use some aspects of it, but not everything is based for me on smart money concepts. For anyone who's joining for the first time and wants to learn more about me personally, I've been trading for over 10 years, right? So I'm a dinosaur in the industry per se, right? Obviously survived through all the ups and downs. It did take me 1 or 2 years to get profitable. Back in the days, there was not a lot of good education sources like what you guys have right now with PrimeVerse, right? So yeah, I was, lingering around between different educators and paid a bunch of money for courses, which were pretty much telling me the same thing. So it took me a while until I developed my own strategy based on the information that I learned, right? Obviously, I use some of the old school concepts as well, which are here. Okay, so I do use RSI. Okay, you guys can see this RSI right here at the bottom, relative strength index, and I do use specifically a stochastic RSI, stock RSI, right? I don't use a standard RSI, but I use a stock RSI. The reason I do so is because it moves into the areas, extreme areas, more frequently than the regular RSI does. So simply saying, use stochastic RSI if you'd like to try to do something that I'm doing here, or just take an indicator into your own consideration. It's a stock RSI with standard settings. There is no settings that I tweaked. And what I'm looking for is for stock RSI to reach an area of overbought or oversold, right? So what you guys want to look at when you're looking at RSI is for it to be either very high or very low, right? Anywhere above 80 or anywhere below 20 is really good area in terms of the price. So as you guys can see, we're reaching that area above 80 right now, hence why I'm comfortable holding that trade, right? That's number one, right? Or second confluence that we use outside of our market structure, outside of trends, right? We use the RSI just to better time our entry, right? So I'm not necessarily looking to enter, for example, a sell where the price for the RSI is too low. When RSI is low, I know I'm late into the move. That's exactly why I told you guys when we started the trading session around 8 o'clock and I showed you guys how he rejected the daily open. I told you guys I'm not gonna rush into the sell because RSI was pretty low for me already right here. So I didn't feel like it's reasonable for me to do so, right? Okay, so outside of RSI, keep in mind that we use something else, and that is fibs, right? Fibonacci levels. Some people will tell you, hey, look, fibs don't work, right? Some people will tell you, hey, look, fibs are great. So there are two schools of philosophies with regards to Fibonacci's, but even our software, which is Zonar, it does use Fibonacci levels. Simple idea behind Fibonacci's is anything that goes up needs to go down before it continues its movement, right? So if we had this whole move from the top to the bottom, right? This is one move right here. Price needs to come back and retest certain RSI areas and Fibonacci areas before it continues lower. Simply saying, right? Nothing goes down in a straight line. Nothing goes down like this, right? Things take time to develop. Price takes time to develop, right? If you're looking into price action, price never goes down in a straight line. No, price will move down, retest, continue lower. Move down, retest, continue lower. Something like that will always happen in the market, right? And that is based on the RSI. When you measure it from the top to the bottom, right? And we use multiple levels for the RSI, 78, 61, 50. And as mentioned during my previous trading sessions, 71 is what I use. This is custom in between 61 and 78, right? And then for my targets, I use -61 and -27, hence why my TPs are set based on that. Okay, so as you guys can see, right, when price moves from here down there, price will come back to retest the 50% before it continues lower to your Fibonacci levels, right? I didn't even draw any Fibonacci, but the price perfectly reached that 61 target. I guess when I'm drawing things, I'm drawing them based on fibs as well. And then so on and so forth, right? This is your high, this is your low. You draw the fib from the top to the bottom. Price will retest a certain area, either 61 or 50 or 71. Again, you got to have multiple confluences and then continue lower, right? And notice how sometimes price would actually retest the previous low like this, right? Before continuing lower, as we showed you guys for one of the prices, right? Let's remove all this. Hopefully Fibonacci example makes sense. This was just for people who have not used fibs before, right? And let's have a look. Once again, this is the example right here. We had a previous low, previous low. Price moved from the weekly open down aggressively. We broke the low right here, right? And then what happened is price retested 61%, right? And then continued lower for now, right? Hence why I'm saying, look, unless we break this, unless we break the previous lows to the upside, unless we create this equal high right here, I'm not necessarily looking for any buys, right? And I'm happy to take on a little bit extra risk not to get stopped out. Hence why my stop loss is pretty wide on my first entry. If the price goes lower, if the price goes higher, I'm happy to add a second entry somewhere around 61 or 71, just to add to my entry there, right? Keep that in mind. And again, we don't need to trade every single move, every single minute, right? This is pretty choppy price action, if you ask me personally, right? I would love for the price to move quick, right? Like it did here or like it did here. But you guys got to be able to differentiate the difference between when price is trending or when the price is chopping, right? You don't want to be trading something here, right? This area here and get stopped out multiple times. What you want to be doing is entering during the times when the market is trending, right? Keep that in mind. From the top to the bottom, here's your 50% fib and here are your extensions, right? It moved through it. If I was to be entering, I would put my entry here, take profit right there, boom, done, and stop loss above 78%. This is one of the examples. I wouldn't even necessarily be capturing this whole move because probably my take profit would be there. It would be a pity, but that's the reality of trading. You're not going to catch the whole move every single time. One time you'll get lucky when your take profit is open, but not every time you'll get so lucky, right? Capturing the whole move. So keep that in mind. Anybody has any questions so far as to why we entered the short? Anyone has any questions on the RSI or Fibonacci's? Does that make sense for you guys? Is that reasonable? Anything that is confusing, please let me know. We do have some time while the trade is developing. For now, it's nice, right? As you guys can see, tap the daily open the second time, right? And now we're moving lower. So I'm pretty happy with my entry, as I mentioned. My stop loss was pretty wide, but that's okay. Absolutely. Trade is almost 200 bucks in profit, so not too bad for a dinosaur trader. Right? But again, we'll let it play out for now. I might be able to add some more. Notice how, again, guys, you see RSI reached the 80 and now we're down to 20. So if your guys are asking me, Should I be entering now? No, because RSI is pretty low, right? It's not going to be part of the confluence, right? Hence why if you want to be trying to enter again or add to your entry, you guys want to wait out until RSI comes back up, right? So what we want to see is RSI coming back up for us to re-enter and then for it to continue lower, right? Somebody's asking if I can explain the blue slash orange lines of the RSI, right? So there are indeed two lines on the stochastic RSI. I'll be honest with you guys, especially for beginners, I do not want to sound complicated. That's the last thing I want for you guys, okay? I want this to be as easy as possible. So I want you guys to focus on specific things that I'm talking about, right? What the blue line is or what the orange line is, you guys can learn in, Investopedia per se, right? We can go through it together if you want, but that wouldn't necessarily be the most efficient way of spending our time together, right? The main point is RSI is a lagging indicator. So you guys got to keep that in mind. It's lagging after the price, right? But the main point is that RSI, treat it like price, right? Treat it like a line, one line, right? The only reason I would use blue versus orange is when one goes above the other, right? So let me make it actually a little bigger for some of you guys who asked the question. So RSI has two lines right here, and you notice when the market is moving downwards, the blue line is lower and the orange line is higher, right? But a very nice entry point on a higher time frame would be when the blue line moves above the orange line right here, right? So not earlier than that, but after it has done so, right? So again, if the orange line or vice versa, right? When the blue line moves below the orange line, it pretty much tells you it's a nice time to sell, right? Not before that. But again, on 1 minute time frame, it's really subjective, right? And you might not be able to catch all of that. So what I'm saying is just treat this as one line and all you guys are looking for if the price is above this area or below this area. So this here is no trade zone right here when the price is there, right? RSI is there. We are not entering a trade. We're only looking to enter where the price is here or here, right? Or respectively there. Hopefully that makes sense, right? Again, we're looking for an area where the RSI is oversold or overbought. Okay. Somebody's asking if you're looking to trade with a 1 minute time frame. Um, let's see. You need to trade according to the RSI. If you buy, RSI should be 20, correct, and above. Oh no, 1 second. If you buy, RSI should be 20 and above and sell 70 and above. No, for buy it should be 20 and lower, right? So less than 20, less than 20. If you sell, it has to be more than 80, right? We have 20 and 80 as our values for RSI. So if you want to sell, it has to be up above this dotted line, right? We have this dotted line and we have this blue box, right? Simply saying it has to be above the blue box or below the blue box for you guys to enter a trade in a certain direction. Simple as that. Okay. Blue box means no trade, right? Sometimes I would make an exception if the price moves really quick. If I like the trade, again, I've been doing it for 10 years. Keep that in mind. But for a beginner, create a set of rules, right? If it's above the blue box high, we can look for sell. If it's below the blue box low, we can look for buy. Simple as that. Okay. Hopefully that helps. And once again, it works on all the time frames. All I'm saying is we're trading and scalping on smaller time frames. Hence why I'm saying don't disregard the two lines, treat them as one. But on higher time frames, we can look into the details as to why we use two lines specifically. Okay. And once again, make sure RSI aligns with your other confluences, right? We're not just looking at one, guys. Keep that in mind, please. I highlighted that we use a set of three, rule of three, right? So we use market trend. Keep that in mind, right? We have a high, a low, a lower high, And then we're looking for a lower low right here, right? We want the price to break lower. It might not happen right away. It might not happen right now, right? But it might happen, say, towards 12 o'clock at night, right? Or it might happen towards the morning, right? During the London session, right? Price may take its own time to develop. Things are not going to happen instantly, right? But what I'm saying is just in general, we're looking for a lower low. The trend is still to the downside unless we break this area here, then I would be looking for buys, if that makes sense. And again, as you guys can see, I'll be honest with you, I'd love to place more trades, right? Buys and sells and show you guys how we can stack some profits in one session, right? Sometimes the price would give you guys an opportunity, right? Even before we met at 8 o'clock, right? Between 7 and 8, price has moved multiple times, right? This was the high, this was the low, lower high, lower low. A nice trend, right? And then we create a different trend, a high, a low, a higher high. So here it would be multiple scalping opportunities, I'll be honest with you, right? One sell right here, right? And then so on and so forth, right? We could have taken multiple trades between 7 and 8. But what I'm saying is right now, price is not developing as quick, right? We could have taken one short, two shorts, and then take some longs here, right? Long, boom, take profit, close, yada yada, right? I'm just saying sometimes price consolidates and you don't want to be caught up in the chop, right? Hence why I made my stop loss a little bit wider for this particular situation. Now that the price has moved lower, I will move my stop loss to the high right here, daily open, right? I want to protect my capital as well. So while I allowed the price to consolidate above my entry, I'll literally move the stop loss, and now my risk is only $180. There you go, right? I'm still aiming for 840, but I'll actually reduce my take profit. Just be a little bit more humble here because last couple of times I was greedy, did not work out well. Okay. So I'm gonna put my start take profit right here. Okay. For 4032-ish is where my take profit is gonna be. 4032-ish. It's nice $474 still, right? 500 bucks in half an hour trading. I'll take that, right? So keep that in mind. Any questions? Let me know. If everything is clear, please do type some W's in the chat. I appreciate my W's. If everything is clear, type in some W's. If some things are confusing, do let me know. Okay. I appreciate it, guys. Hey, W's in the chat means people are loving it. Appreciate it all. Thank you so much. Helps me keep going. Okay. Somebody's asking if it's a pending order. It's not a pending order. It's a live market trade already, right? We've executed that trade around, um, I don't even know what time. It was around 8:15, right? So we've been in a trade for a good 20 minutes already, right? Keep that in mind. I appreciate the W's, guys. If anyone has any questions, anything you guys want to know or learn, do let me know. Very happy to help my beginners. If no questions, that's absolutely fine as well. We can place a couple more trades. Let's see what Bitcoin is doing. I'll be honest with y'all, I did lose some money on Bitcoin yesterday, a very small trade, but that's okay, right? Losses is part of the game. Somebody's new to trading and they have a question. CEO, please go ahead, ask a question. I'm happy to answer your guys' question. Okay. Okay, Bitcoin is a bit choppy, as you guys can see, right? You guys should be able to highlight an area of consolidation like this one versus an area where price was trending, right? Boom. You see, price is trending versus price is consolidating. Should be able to highlight the difference for yourself, right? When the price is stuck in the range, I'm not necessarily a big fan of trading when price is in the range, right? Especially small range like this, right? So I would probably stay away from Bitcoin for now unless it starts trending. One thing is, it's just been going down nonstop for now, right? I was actually looking for some trades down there. That was a bit of a while ago. But anyways, so again, I would stay away while we're within this range on Bitcoin. If we were to break out above and then retest, I would be looking to enter. That would be a nice trade. But again, with the fact that Bitcoin is moving down so much, some people are targeting like $88,000 on Bitcoin roughly. So I wouldn't be necessarily very eager to go into long-term buy positions right now just yet. Okay. Somewhere around here would be a nice entry for sure. 88,000-ish. So Andy was asking if we are on 1 minute candle on gold. Yes. So when I have 1 minute, 1M box highlighted here, this is a 1 minute chart on gold, right? Keep that in mind, Andy. All the time frames are here that I use: 1 minute, 3, 5, 15, and then 1 hour, 4 hour daily and weekly, right? Those are the time frames that I use, so you can check which time frame we're on. And it also says here, right? If for example, if we're on one hour, it will say 1H, but for minutes, it will just give you a number right there. So keep that in mind. CEO is asking, what am I looking out for on the chart before placing an order? CEO, I'm looking out for confirmations, right? So everything that we discussed prior to placing a trade, right? A market trend, an RSI at a certain area, my Fibonacci levels as well. Those are all the things that I'm looking out for. For example, even right now, price has reached this area of supply right here, right? And we grabbed the liquidity below this low. So my concern is if this is a series of movements to the upside, right? We could easily break this, right? Because this is a 78, right? So again, a very nice potential long from here, right? RSI low, Fibonacci retracement right here, right? The only thing is you're trading against the hard time frame trend, right? So you're pretty much following a trend that has occurred since 7:30, right? So you're following a trend for the past 1 hour, and the past 1 hour trend is, yeah, it is bullish. You can consider that, right? But once again, you are within a higher time frame bearish trend, you are within a higher time frame bearish RSI, so on and so forth, right? So gotta be careful if you're looking to place longs. Of course, we could scalp this, right? But I'm not a huge scalper. On like, getting into a trade every 2, 3 minutes gives me stress. But again, we could play around like that if you guys want one day. Less is more. Sometimes less is more. Okay. Remember that. You don't need to be placing 10 trades every 10 minutes to make reasonable amount of profit. Just follow through on your ideas. That will be better. Did I put SL entry? Yes, I do have a stop loss, if that's what you're asking. Stop loss is just above the highs right here. As you can see, the highs are the daily open level, right? So we're putting our stop loss above the highs. And look how it's rejecting this level here, right? So these highs, and we came back to those and rejected those as well, right? So again, I like how price action is developing so far. It is very nice. I'll be honest with you guys. Very strong bearish candle here, but we'll see how the price develops. I'm not going to rush into, celebrating a trade that hasn't completely gone through yet. But if we end up going to TP, going to be super nice. It's going to be pretty much 2.5 risk to reward trade. Happy days, if you ask me. Okay, couple more questions from the chat. CEO's been looking at gold and BTC, but haven't seen an entry or confident move. But I did make a gold order, even though you were late for that part. So that's fine, right? Your job is for now to learn. You don't need to catch every single trade that we're placing, right? And there you go. Watch. We've reached the take profit. Boom. Simple as that, guys. Okay. Easy money, quick trade. No hassle. We made $500 plus on this trade. Okay. Easy, simple, effective, calm and collected, I would say also. Right? We did not stress out this trade. We let it play out. I did not care if it came back up, right? I wish I could learn how to filter these trades on smaller time frame, but there you go. 11th, oh, November 18th, right here, right? Sell half a lot and we've captured $472 right there, right? So happy days, perfect trade, easy execution, had no problems about that. If you guys took that trade, congratulations. You can close most of it, 50% at least, move your stop loss to break even, and then let the rest play out. Okay? W's in the chat, loving it. Loving it, guys. I appreciate it. Ali's saying the days that you had more trades, you lost more last week. Very good observation, Ali. Very good observation because overtrading is the biggest killer of any trader. I am most profitable on days when I place 2 to 3 trades in a day. When I'm placing 20 trades, I know I'm over trading. I mean, I'm doing it for a reason. Sometimes, if you guys saw on my Instagram, I did a flipping challenge of $60 to 660. That's part of the challenge, right? The job is to get the account as high as possible in one day. So I could accept that risk, right? Let's actually, for fun, get into a long here. Very quick long, half a lot. And then we will place our take profit. So around here, it's 250-ish. And then our stop loss is below the low, 160. Okay. So we're targeting roughly 50 pips in take profit, and we're risking roughly 30 pips. Okay. If it doesn't go through, it's fine. I'll just say I gave part of the profits away for my greed. But again, this is for people who say, scalping, yada, 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 taking multiple opportunities. And I'll show you guys the reason why I'm looking just for the small scalp to the upside. Okay. Even though I am still bearish on a higher time frame, right? Notice how it perfectly reached that area before it started retracing, right? So the reason I'm looking for a buy right here. Again, I don't necessarily need to use these tools because my eyes are accustomed to that. But number one, RSI is pretty low, right? Number two, we've reached the fib extension, 78% right here, right? And number three, on 1 hour time frame, right? We've had this bullish structure, okay? So again, what did we have on 1 hour? I mean, within the last 1 hour, right? Since around 7 p.m., 7:30-ish, a low, a high, a lower low, sorry, lower high, no, sorry, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. We broke this low right here, but it might be a liquidity grab right there, okay? Hence why I'm a little bit conservative about the price going back down further. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4 taps into this area. Hence why I'm taking this little long, right? If I'm wrong, it's okay. As you guys saw, my stop loss is going to be just below these lows right there, right? So if I'm wrong, that's fine. But if I'm right, we'll add another 1% to the account, which is not too bad, if you ask me, right? So see if there are any questions. You can arrange the trading history to be latest at the bottom and vice versa by clicking on the time column name on top. Let's see. Let's see. Somebody trying to help me out here. Ooh, look at you, Joanna. Thank you so much, eh? Made my day. Look at me. As I told you, I'm a dinosaur when it comes to I trade on my phone for the most part, right? So there it's kind of set up properly in terms of time. But thank you very much, Joanna. Look, there is something I can learn from my members. I appreciate that so much. Now look, $474. There you go, last trade. And notice how much gap I take in my trading, yeah? So I trade like on the 11th, on the 13th, and then on the 14th and 18th, right? So just a quick point that you don't need to trade every day to grow your and balance consistently. As I said to you guys before, I'm using this account just to track the live trading sessions progress. So most of the profits that we make is from trading sessions. And if we take some losses, I'm very transparent with that as well. We've had a one trading session, I believe last week, when we did not add any money to our account, which is fine, right? Part of the game is to take some losses on one day and come back stronger the next day, right? So, Joanna, thank you so much for making my history look better. I don't know how I didn't try to do that, but hey, thank you once again. I appreciate that. So Dylan's asking, what's this one for? I'm not sure what the question is. If you can clarify it, that'd be super cool. But let's see, so my stop loss is right here, and my take profit, 37.81, 29.50. Okay, we might get stopped out here, but let me see if I could just move my stop loss a little wider, making it 250-ish. Okay, so 1 to 1 risk to reward. If we're wrong, it's going to continue lower. Break the lows, that's fine. But again, my logic was based on 78% fib, based on the RSI. If I'm wrong from the right spot. So that's all that matters. It's like roughly here. Okay. Remind the concept of liquidity grab. Somebody's asking. Okay, good question. Love it. Amazing. Liquidity grab. Question by Greg, I believe. So liquidity grab happens when the price is tapping into the previous lows, right? And then moving forward, right? So let me show you here. This here, right? I noticed this morning and I think this was amazing. So price, again, I wish I had my trading sessions, but I don't have them right now. Let me see if I can add it. Let me remove this and let me go for an indicator sessions. There you go. So as you can see, bear with me. This is wrong. Let me just adjust that a little bit. Bear with me a second. I do use sessions indicators, and then my New York is green color. That starts around 9:30-ish. And there you go. Bear with me a second, yeah, guys. Okay, so again, very simple concept, very quick. The green box right here is the New York session. Started at 9 o'clock in the morning and finished around like 4 or 5 p.m., right? I'll choose these boxes because I'm using a different account for these trading sessions. But the point being is that sometimes price will grab the liquidity, meaning come back to the previous area of interest, right? So what we had is price opened up and created this high right here, moved lower, created a series of lower highs and lower lows. And what it did, notice this, it came back to this same exact area, right? I wouldn't necessarily call this a liquidity grab because liquidity grab would be like this, break above and then move below, right? Meaning grab the stop losses because people who are entering the trades, for example, right? I'm a trader. I trade on the New York Open. Somebody would enter right here, right there. And they would put their stop loss where? Above this high, right there, right? And then they would say, hey, look, I want to target the lows, right? All the way down there, right? So what most people would do, or somebody would place their stop loss above this high, actually. We could call this a liquidity grab because it grabbed the high from here, right? So we created a high, a low, a lower high, a lower low, and then what happened is, if we mark up this area, price went above this high right here, right? So created a high, a low, a lower high, a lower low. Somebody would think, hey, look, lower high, price will come down. But no, what did it do, right? It went above right here to get your stop loss right here, right? You would probably exit, right? And then price continued lower, right? So grabbing liquidity means stopping out most traders, right? Because when you're grabbing the liquidity, somebody's stop loss right here is an order to buy, right? You are selling, it's an order to buy, and then they move the price lower, right? I can find a lot of these liquidity grabs on the price chart, but hopefully that is pretty clear, right? Even the previous session right here, these highs, I can talk about liquidity grab forever, but we don't have all the time. But again, the point is right here, right? So the price would create a high, a low, a lower high, and a lower low. Then comes what? Somebody would think, hey, look, lower high, let's sell. No, it would grab the liquidity, stop you out, and then continue lower, right? Once again, same concept, same chart. Somebody who would be entering here, placing the stops above the highs, boom, gets stopped out, right? And then the trade goes in their direction, right? Again, hopefully that is clear. Let's see what gold is doing right now. Woo, it went lower, guys. Okay, so once again, I was wrong. That's fine. This trade was a little greedy. We're gonna accept the loss right there. Okay, so one win, one loss. That's fine. We're still up by 1% on this account. As I said, if I'm gonna be wrong, I'm gonna be wrong from the right place. So again, bullish bias did not stand here, unfortunately, which is fine. Again, we were bearish over the session, and it did reach our TP2. I do believe we will reach TP3 right here. Again, TP3 is right here, negative 27%. So I do believe we will reach here, and then we could start looking for some buys from there. Okay. Yeah, so you asked if there doesn't make sense entering this gold trade. If you missed that, that's okay, right? Skip the trade. Market will give you another opportunity next time. Teresa is asking if I'm always looking at 80 and 20. Yes, I'm always looking above 80 or below 20 for my trade ideas, right? So if I was looking to buy here, it was below 20. It gave me a reasonable idea to do so, right? Yeah, I am most of the time looking for a price to be below 20. Look, it's at 2 right now. It's literally at 0 right now, right? So just based off RSI, you could think, oh my God, amazing trade, right? But it could go further down because you don't have any other confluences to to consider otherwise, right? So yeah, the buys, guys, as I mentioned, it was a very quick trade. It was a counter trend trade. The idea was that on a smaller time frame, we created these higher highs and higher lows, right? We took a loss on this one. Let's just be clear, negative $227. We're still up like 250-ish, which is fine. Again, positive trading session for the day. I don't care if the price went lower, right? The idea here, this sell was right, right? This is just to show you guys. I hope this is a good learning for you guys too, right? That you don't need to be buying and selling and buying and selling and buying and selling, right? Think about it, right? Had we held this trade for a little bit longer, this would have been another $250. So it could have been a total $750 profit trade. Instead of that, right? Just learn from my mistakes right here. We sold and the price went lower. The idea was right. Why did we have to exit and buy? Now, because of that, instead of being $750 in profit, we're only $250 in profit because we took a trade in a different direction, took a loss, right? Yes, we're net up. Great. But at the end of the day, we ended up taking a loss, right? Which reduced our total profit, even though this whole trade, the whole idea was to take it all the way down, right? So that's why I'm saying sometimes less is more. Keep that in mind when you're placing your trades. I do believe that less is more. Okay. Bear with me a second. Hopefully things are clear. Bear with me a second. Do I expect possible buy from 4020? Yes, I could be expecting for a buy from 4020, but it would be a counter trend trade. 4020 is a nice area indeed for buys. This is an extension of the fib. And usually when the price goes down, it has to come back up, as I told you guys before, right? So there is a possible buy just based on the fibs. But again, it would be a counter trend buy. So got to be careful. Okay. RSI is low. Again, the logical thinking here is this. Let me remove this trend line. Notice it's broken, right? No use of these trend lines in general. That's why I don't use them too much. The downward trend line is useful. So again, we can use a trend line when it's following a certain trend. If trend is downside, use just one trend line. You don't need two or more trend lines. So let's remove these sessions thing. Okay. And what do we have? So we did reach 61. I do think we should reach here. But again, you see how price has slowed down and created this bullish candle here. Again, why? Because we reached the top of this red zone. Notice how red zone is being supported, right? These areas here, and this is from the previous highs right here that we highlighted, right? Notice how there is a reaction from these zones. Hence why I'm saying do your analysis, do your charting, right? There is always a reaction from a zone that you highlight, especially if it's a reasonable zone here, right? So again, let's be real here. This trade only was up until here. Then we took a little buy, which was a loss, which is fine. This could be a nice buy, but I'm not going to rush into it. So CEO was thinking gold is going to sell soon, and that was like just just now, right? It did sell off, right? Again, these are smaller moves, so you got to be careful. What's the style of my fib? Let me show you guys my fib setting. This is it, right? 0, 38, 05, 61.8, 71. That's probably the only special thing that you guys want to take a screenshot of. 78 is standard. And then my extensions, not everybody uses these extensions, but I do. Again, old school. Negative 61.8 and negative 27. Those are the two extensions that I use. Feel free to copy those for your settings. I do believe you'll find it useful. Do we have any strategy or confirmations to use for a counter trend scalp? Amazing question. Let's think about it. And we'll put up the confirmations on the chart people are asking. So let's do that. A good confirmation for counter trend scalp. Good question about confirmations. That's the whole thing with counter trend trades. You don't get a lot of confirmations. You have to act fast and act based on impulse. So for example, right, give you an example. So these are the rules that we use. We'll keep them here. Um, the thing with the counter trend is you could say to yourself, hey, look, I'm looking for a buy here, or reach the zone, the previous highs, yada yada. You could be right? Definitely. If you bought here at the lows, you would probably be right. And keep this fib here. Let's remove it, right? You could draw up a higher time frame fib here, or sorry, the next level of fibs, right? And it would probably align in a way, right? So you don't know where to put your stop loss though. The thing is, your stop loss and your risk is undefined because you don't have a specific level per se, right? We do have just one level here, the gray line. Absolutely, yes. Again, it's a daily bearish open, right? Why did we get where we got, right? Just to highlight for you guys. Daily bearish candle right here. This gray line right here, daily bearish candle. This is why we're consolidating around the area where we are right now, right? Have a look at this. We are literally tapping into this daily bearish candle, and we had a bullish reaction off of it. So again, daily levels are important, even on 1 minute chart. Now, what I was saying is confirmations for a counter trend scalp. Say the trend is bearish, right? So we need a market trend of market being, again, it's kind of within the trend, right? To sell right now. If you're looking to buy, market trend in general goes out of the window. The only thing that you're left with is RSIs and fibs, which in my personal opinion is not enough because your risk is undefined. You don't know which level until you're trading next, right? For example, we broke out of this whole range. Price is essentially between these levels, right? So this is your point A, highlight for you here. Point A, point B, point C. You don't know where point D is, right? That's the problem. One, two, three. You don't know if this is point D or this or there. You simply don't know. So the problem is going to be, there you go. You would have gotten stopped out right here, right? If you took a trade right there. So the problem is the risk is undefined. You don't know up until when you're taking a risk. I would probably, if I was looking to enter the trade right now, I'll be looking to put my stop loss at the bottom of this red box, right? But this is not a perfect confirmation per se, right? It's a zone, but not a perfect confirmation, right? What I could do, I could probably add a fib from the bottom to the top. That's the best thing I could do in this situation, right? And notice how we perfectly were trading around the 50%. Let me remove that. So we have 61, which we broke through, and we have, I think we're tapping 71 right here, right now. Right there, 71, right? So my stop loss would be below the 78% right here, hence why we could potentially enter a trade off of 4020. We the third P on the buy right here. Again, with the stop loss being just below somewhere like 14, 16, 50-ish, just because it's below 78%. But it is pretty risky if you ask me. Again, it's a trade without a well-defined risk. Hence why I try not to trade counter trend as much because price action could just be violent to the downside. And the price could obliterate through my stop loss, right? So again, you see 1% risk, a well-defined risk for me in this account, and then take profit would be, look at this. We would pull up a fib, right? So I use fibs on top of fibs on top of fibs. Call me your, fib guy if you want. But my take profit will be roughly around these lows right there, right? So again, price breaking the lows, retesting it, this becoming the resistance or the supply, whatever you want to call it, and then price continuing lower. So my take profit would be, let's be 40, 30-ish, right? So nice 100 pips take profit. We could do that. Take profit, 100 pips-ish. Where's our entry? 41.21. So 41.32-ish. There you go. Something like that, right? Hopefully that makes sense. Again, that's why it's hard to trade counter trend. You're gonna have to try and catch the move. It's gonna be harder, right? Because you can see how nicely it consolidated around here and created a zone. It was a daily open, yada yada, right? But over here you have less confidence in the buy than the sell that we took earlier, right? But again, on a smaller time frame, we could do that. Okay, guys. So we are in a buy right now up until 40.30-ish, 40.31. It is a risky one, as you guys can see. It does not define your risk very well in terms of downside targets. But hopefully it was useful. So far, we have one win, one loss, still up 1% for the session. I would consider it a good result. Any result where we did not lose money is a good result, right? Or even if we're break even, it's a good result. The main point is for you guys to learn something new, for you guys to improve your knowledge, for you guys to get the experience and try to take some of these tools away from me back for yourself, right? And just learn, get better, improve yourself. So if you enjoyed the sessions, type W's in the chat. You already know. Type W's. We're going to round it up. We're going to meet again on Wednesday. We're going to trade some more. I appreciate everybody's attendance. I appreciate everybody's questions. Thank you guys for staying with PrimeVerse. We have many more amazing things, many more sessions prepared for you, many more product improvements. Just work on getting better, right? Manage your risk, manage your emotions. This is the most important in any trade. Everything else will come. Okay. So thank you, everybody. Once again, hope you guys enjoyed the session. Best of luck. Stay happy, stay healthy, get better. Stay with PrimeVerse. Cheers and talk soon.